So this is assignment 3, Tableau dashboard assignment, which is meant for us to be able to showcase how well we can design a dashboard in Tableau. And my focus has to do with mortality in New Brunswick, because to have valuable insight about the population's health, it's important we have information about the death and causes of death in that population. And we're going to look at New Brunswick. The indicator we'll be using is the crude mortality rate, which has to do with the numbers of deaths in a population during a given period, and that it will be scaled to the size of the population. So to start, I would like to introduce you all to my uh, the data source. The first data source I have here has to do with deaths and mortality rate, and this is based on the numbers of deaths in New Brunswick, and the other one has to do with death and mortality rate, but this has to do with, this is based on mortality rate, which is ratio based on 1,000 per population of New Brunswick. And the last data source has to do with what are the leading cause of death in New Brunswick. So all these are my data source. So now let's start. So for us to be able to know what is the health of the population in New Brunswick, I had to do this to show uh, what is the status of death in New Brunswick for each and every year. Is it increasing or is it decreasing? So I plotted, from data I have is from 2014 to 2018, and against the numbers of deaths, and you can see that there is a rise in the number of deaths, and you can see it has been increasing, which actually shows that even in 2020 there might also be an increase in the number of deaths. So I also went further to know, in terms of sex, which sex is dying more per year, right? The increase in number, you can see from male and female, you can see that there are more males dying per year compared to female. You can see in 2018 we have 3,875, while for female we have 3,769. So now let's look at the mortality rate, which is the rate of death per 1,000 in the population. Normally, the benchmark is 75 years to know if there's a premature death, which is from 0 to 75. Any death below 0, between 0 to 75 actually shows as a premature death. But if it goes above 75, which means that it's not a premature death. So we want to see if there's premature death in New Brunswick. So if you look at it, after plotting the mortality rate per 1,000 in the population, taking consideration 0 to 75, because I filtered it to make sure it is within 0 to 75, and from 2014 to 2018, I did the average, and we can see here that the average is 186.120, and in 2018 what we have here is 187.70, which shows that there's premature mortality in New Brunswick, because it is actually above the average of 186.120, which is a sense of concern. So I also checked the mortality rate with respect to men and women, and looking at the population, it shows that for the mortality rate, or there are more men also dying compared to women, although there's a drop in the mortality rate in 2018, because don't forget we are using per 1,000 of the population, so that is why there could be a drop here. But notwithstanding, it also shows that there are more men dying compared to women each year. So what is actually causing this death in New Brunswick. What is the cause? You know, doing a line graph and looking at the numbers of deaths, based on cost of death and against the year, we can see that the high cost of death in New Brunswick is cancer, which is followed by heart disease, which also went down a little, in 2018, and going up on the rise are other causes of death in New Brunswick. So you can see that the two major causes of death or in New Brunswick is cancer and heart disease. So what section of the population in terms of sex is dying of cancer and heart disease? So I did another plot. If you look at this, you will see that it still says that there are more men, dying of cancer compared to women. And also for heart disease, there are more men dying of heart disease compared to what? To female. So this actually tells us where we are in terms of the health of the population in New Brunswick, the mortality in New Brunswick. So let's go to my dashboard to actually give us a good overview of where we are in terms of mortality in New Brunswick, to know what is the population health of New Brunswick. So as discussed before, now we can see the numbers of deaths in New Brunswick is on the rise. 2018, if we had sufficient data for 2020, you also understand that there could also be a rise in death. So you can see that the mortality rate, there's premature mortality in New Brunswick because we are above the average of 186.120 per 1,000 of the population. More men dying in terms of numbers of deaths in respect to mortality for 1,000 of the population. It is also clear that we have more men dying than women. So for the top three causes of death, you can see that the first one is cancer, the second one is heart disease, and followed by the other causes. So if we take it to 2, you just see that it's just so let's take it to 2. So if we take it to 2, you can see from my parameter top causes of death, the first two causes of death are the first one is cancer, the second one is heart disease. So let's take it back to 3 to what it is. So that is it. So cancer, heart disease, and so looking at the the condition of death or the state of death in New Brunswick, you can see that the mortality rate in New Brunswick is quite high, and this is where we are. So something needs to be done in order to make sure that we reverse this trend. Thank you very much for watching. I hope the dashboard suits the purpose. Thank you.